Welcome to episode 127 of the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business. I'm Brian Fisher. Are you a business owner or executive searching for practical strategies to grow your company? This podcast series focuses on the various subjects and topics to help you run a successful, profitable business, and is targeted to business owners and C-suite executives. But anyone interested in business can benefit. It reflects my 34 years as a business owner and subsequent years as a business mentor and consultant. They're approximately 15 minutes long, so you can listen while commuting. In the previous episode, 126, our guest was Will Spengler, discussing hiring elite talent. Today's episode discusses from spreadsheets to systems with Therman Trotman. Based out of the Baltimore, Maryland area, Therman Trotman is Mr. SharePoint at the SharePoint Helpdesk, supporting public and private clients interested in SharePoint and the Microsoft 365 suite. Let's welcome Therman Trotman. Therman, welcome to the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business.
How you doing? Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us today, Therman. Therman, I'm always interested in people's stories. What's your background in becoming Mr. SharePoint at the SharePoint Helpdesk, a company that supports clients interested in SharePoint and the Microsoft 365 suite?
I'll speed through it. Born and raised in the Bronx. From the Bronx, I went to the Army. While I was in the Army, I went to Korea. After Korea, I came home, and then I started supporting the government as a contractor. Well, actually, I came home from Korea. I did a year in the National Guard, and then for the National Guard, I started supporting the government as a contractor. Did that for years as an employee, and then 2019, I started to run my own business on the side, and that was just more SharePoint stuff. And then when I started to bring my business online, which was 2022, roughly, that's when the idea to call myself Mr. SharePoint, which I recognize and understand is very corny, but it's good for branding. So there's a couple people that I interact with on LinkedIn pretty frequently, and they were the ones who encouraged me to do it because they were branding experts, and they said, you need to do that. Call yourself Mr. SharePoint. So I did it, and now here I am.
I don't think that's corny at all. I think it's a great branding for you.
Okay, good. I appreciate it.
This episode's topic is spreadsheets to systems. How can business owners effectively overcome the mountains of spreadsheets that they use to track data for their company?
Stop using them the way that they use them. So one of the things that I like to say is, can you eat cereal with a fork? The answer is yes, but would you eat cereal with a fork? The answer is probably no, you wouldn't do that. You'd get a spoon, which is a much better tool to accomplish that job. So the way I talk about with spreadsheets of doing that is like a lot of people are using spreadsheets the way I would consider if you're using a fork to eat cereal, which you don't want to use it that way. One of those ways that I'm talking about is like using it to collect information. So you're sitting inside of your organization and you need people to give you information. So you might say, all right, I'm going to create a spreadsheet, put some columns in the spreadsheet, and then I'm going to send it out to everybody and ask them to put their data in there and then get it back to me. That process is understandable at a certain time period, but these days it's an outdated process that we need to stop doing, because if you think about it, right, if you go to anybody's website right now, example I like to use is the YMCA. If you were going to the YMCA site to sign your kid up, be a member, they would not say, you wouldn't read on their site, okay, download this spreadsheet, give us your name and email and address, and then send us back the spreadsheet. You'd think they were crazy. What you get used to seeing, or what you would recognize, is if you pressed a button and then a form came up, and then you put that information into the form, and then you hit submit, and then that's when they get that information inside of their system. That's what we're used to. That is the normal practice. It's been a normal practice for a really long time. You have that ability to do that inside of the Microsoft 365 suite with SharePoint. So that's one of the first things I would do, or that's one of the most popular ones, is where I say, listen, you don't have to keep using a spreadsheet to collect information, aka using a fork to eat cereal. Try SharePoint, which is a spoon, and you would get way more milk to cereal ratio. And it's much better. So just try that. Work with me to try that. Let me just show you what that looks like. And then let me see if you would go back to doing it that way. There's a ton of others, but I like to, use that one as the main example.
That's a good analogy. Following up on that, Therman, what are some easy, effective ways that business leaders can streamline their employees' day-to-day processes to increase efficiency?
First, we want to scale back because I work with a lot of clients and I see a lot of doing too much. I introduce them to doing less. The reason why I introduce them to that is because I'm like, listen, you don't want to become some administrative, deep in the weeds type person who's leading. That's not what you're here for. You're here to do the actual thing that you need to do, which is whatever it is that you're good at. A lot of people, let's say, will get into an employee situation. They'll become an employee, they'll work, and then they'll have the job that they were hired to do, but then they find themselves becoming like a spreadsheet manager. We don't want that. You know what I'm saying? We want to reduce that. One of the main ways that we do that is by using called the intranet. So if you don't know what an intranet is, it's just a website for your business, except it's not external on a .com. It's internal. You and all the folks that are inside of your company, y'all use that internal website. Now, imagine if everything that you managed in your business, all of it, all of the stuff that you have to access, all the stuff the employees have to access, imagine if it was all in one location. That's what an intranet can be for you. And that is one of the first ways I would show you how to streamline what you do, is by making it known to everyone in your organization. Hey, if there's something that you need, here's this one link, one location where you could find everything. That's the first step. There's a whole lot of other steps, but that's the first step where I would take you, is it's putting everything in one place.
We are speaking with Therman Trotman, Mr. SharePoint, who's the founder of the SharePoint Helpdesk and a SharePoint strategist with more than 2 decades of IT experience across public and private sectors. His specialty? Helping operational leaders simplify the way their teams work using Microsoft 365 tools they already have. With a people-first approach, Therman teaches teams how to organize chaos, reduce friction, and run their processes with clarity, all through smart SharePoint systems. Therman realized most professionals are struggling with scattered systems, overused spreadsheets, and undertrained teams. He found his niche, helping organizations ditch the duct tape workflows and create a one-stop digital workspace their whole team could rely on. Now, let's get back to the questions. Therman, do you need to give up Google Drive or Dropbox to use SharePoint effectively?
No, you don't. I mean, you could, but you don't have to, because what you got in Google Drive is a library, basically. It's a library. It allows you to create folders and files. What you have in Dropbox, same thing. A library that allows you to create folders and files. In SharePoint, it has 3 major pieces: sites, lists, and libraries. There is a piece of SharePoint, just one piece, and it's called the SharePoint library. That's a feature. So really what you're comparing when you compare Google Drive and Dropbox, you're only comparing it to SharePoint libraries, not SharePoint lists and not SharePoint sites. Now, if you want to keep your Google Drive or keep your Dropbox because you're like, we do things a certain way on this folder, on these folders, it's laid out a certain way, we got a strategy, we like this a lot, you can absolutely do that. What I would recommend to you is, if we go back to that intranet that I was talking about, is if a new employee comes on board and they need to get access to your Dropbox, there's a person that they might need to contact. There's a process they might need to go through. There's a lay of the land they might need before they get into Dropbox to understand how the folders are even set up and what you use them for and when to use them and how to share them and who should be sharing, all of that stuff. I would put that on the intranet. So imagine you go to the main page of the intranet and then you click something that says, documents. When you click on documents, you go to a page, and then this page says, here at this company, we manage all of our documents on Dropbox. Here's how we do it. Here's your point of contact. Here's how you can, here's the strategy of the folders. Here's how you get access, blah, 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 blah. All of that is on the SharePoint site. And then you press a button that takes you to actual Dropbox. So no, you don't have to give it up. You can integrate it, if you will.
Therman, what results or lessons learned have you seen with businesses and individuals that have implemented your recommendations?
One of my first lessons learned would be, again, back to less is more. I have shown organizations how to stop doing so much. You don't have to do all these extra things. Your business can be broken down to something or a series of things that are very, very simple. And we get to put that in one area and give you the time to go do your actual thing. I don't know. Some people get into this world where they're like, I want to tinker with a spreadsheet. And you can, if you're into that. But if you're running a company that does tours, maybe you tour people of you live in a popular city and what you do is run tours. Do the tours. Go be better at being a tour guide. Go be better at how to pick the right vehicles. To maybe you have multiple buses or whatever. Do that. The administrative stuff to like fall in place and help you do what you're doing better. Here's an example. People going to the gym. There's some people who you say, hey, you need to start going to the gym, and what will they do? They'll buy a pair of sneakers and a new outfit and fancy water bottle and an Apple Watch. You don't need all of that stuff to go to the gym. Everybody knows that. You just go to the gym, work out, eat better, and you'll start to see some results. If I then say to you, hey, after like 2 or 3 months, I see you working out, you're doing your thing. Did you know that you can buy an Apple Watch, which will help you track what you're already doing much better? Did you know that you can buy a pair of sneakers? I know you got lower back pain, but these sneakers, I've heard that if you wear them, they help you out with your back pain. All that, the sneakers and the watch, those are pieces of technology. All they do is just help you do what you're already doing. So again, less is more. Let's focus on you doing the good thing in your business and restrict or reduce the amount of administrative stuff that we're doing.
We're speaking with Therman Trotman, who is Mr. SharePoint at the SharePoint Helpdesk. Therman, is there anything I've not asked that you'd like to add?
One thing that I'm very big on and I like to focus on, which is people over technology. All day long, you might hear me talking about technology, but I like to stress that what's more important is people. And what I mean is, if you hire someone to come implement some type of technology at your organization, 9 times out of 10, or maybe 8, depending on who you're dealing with, 8 times out of 10, you'll get the technology implemented. It's fine. It'll work. Where you will struggle is with people. So you need to have your relationships intact. You need to have your communication intact. Have your folks ready, because there's going to be a process where you say, hey, I know you used to do this thing this one way, but check this out. We're going to get a new system and it's going to work like this. Or, hey, you might have to lose these 2 pieces of your process because we'll automate that. And then you just start doing this. That communication, way more important than the technology, because most technology today can do the thing. But the people is who you need to focus on so that you can even take advantage of the technology doing that thing.
Therman, how can people get in contact with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn or book a call. One of the best ways to see if we could even get started is by booking a call. But if you want to, you want to get warmed up to me before we do that, then check me out on LinkedIn. I'll share the link. But if you do need a link, you can go to talksharepoint.com and that'll take you straight to my calendar and we can book a call and talk.
Thurman, thank you for joining us today on the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business.
Thank you for having me. This is good. I like this.
My sincere thanks to Therman Trotman for joining us today. Managing the performance and future direction of your company are 2 of the most important things you do as a leader. This podcast is on YouTube and over 20 podcast directories. In search, type BCF ORG. Be sure to leave a space between BCF and ORG. And don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow the podcast. And I'm here to help you. If you'd like to reach out to me for business mentoring or consulting, help you with a podcast, schedule a speaking engagement, or potentially be a guest like Therman, please go to bcforg.com. There's a red Contact Us button in the middle of the homepage. All the podcasts are available by clicking on the website podcast page in the reference bar. These podcasts will be released the first and third Tuesday each month. In the next episode, 128, our guest will be Tom Schwab, discussing the introvert's advantage. In business, running a successful, profitable business is the ultimate scorecard. You are never done and can always be better. It tends to be more fun than work, frustrating at times, but can be very rewarding. From BCF ORG Corp., I'm Brian Fisher, wishing you the best. Thanks.